Good day, everyone from around the world. My name is Ochuko Akejagbor, an economist from Lagos State University, member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, member Young African Leadership Initiative YALI, and alumni of Daystar Leadership Academy DLA. This recording was made as an economic advisory presentation to Mr. President Bola TInubu, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, GCFR. In line with the 5th Bola TInubu Youth Summit taking place in March 2024, with the theme, Youth Engagement, Building a Prosperous Nigeria for All Generations. As a young progressive citizen, yearning for even prosperity across the nation, I want to make it known to Mr. President that I made the effort to speak at the 5th Youth Summit. But due to already set arrangements, that could not be visible. However, I was determined to send my message across, hence the production of this recording. Mr. President, I believe that there isn't a more better time for youth inclusiveness in governance and leadership in Nigeria. During this presentation, I will be talking about 3 proposals, which will enable us reach $1 trillion in gross domestic product, which will likely be in the long term or in the medium long term, of which I know is one of your economic growth targets. I will be speaking, for the sake of this recording, I will be only speaking on the first and the third proposals. For the technicality of the second, I will just talk about it briefly and we move on. So here we go. So the first proposal is on the advocacy of the creation of a new federal agency. This federal agency is one I call the Nigerian Agency for International Trade, Investment, and Information Technology Inclusion. I'll take it again. The Nigerian Agency for International Trade, Investment, and Information Technology Inclusion, which I also like to call NATITI. So from here on, anytime I say NATITI, you know I'm referring to the Nigerian Agency for International Trade, Investment, and Information Technology Inclusion. All right. So before I talk about this agency, which I'm proposing, called NATITI, let's talk about a problem. Because without a problem, there isn't a solution. There is a problem, that's why I'm standing here today. So let's go through the problem together. I want to talk about how this started. By the grace of God, NATITI was an inspiration from God in 2019. So I want to give all the glory to God for this inspiration. 2019 was the birth of NATITI. In 2020, it was published in the Business Day and also on the Guardian publication. I want to read the Guardian publication in November 2020. I'll make this very, very fast. Akejagbor observed that given the alienation of Nigerian businesses and citizenry from international trade, investment, and information technology opportunities worldwide, it has become pertinent for the legislative and executive arm of government to look into creating a new body that would act in the capacity of a public relation remedy action agency and a marketing re-inclusion agent. According to him, millions of Nigerian citizens and businesses willing to trade, means buy or sell, on platforms like eBay, Amazon, Alibaba, and thousands of other information technology platforms are denied access for reasons only known to these platform providers. Akejagbor, in a statement, noted that thousands of infrastructural and human capital development investments translating into millions and billions of dollars strolling into the corridors of countries like Cote d'Ivoire, Benin Republic, Ghana, Cameroon, and other African countries, thereby improving and strengthening their economies, with Nigeria being left out of these juicy opportunities, while proposing for the setting up of a Nigerian Agency for International Trade, Investment, and Information Technology Inclusion, NATITI. Akejagbor stated that such an agency will have the full power to provide inclusion and remedy to the defective misrepresentation, alienation, and omission of Nigeria and her citizens as regards international trade, investments, and information technology benefits which other countries are currently gaining from either directly or by proxy. So, this was the first publication of NATITI in November 2020. I will take you forward to 2022, a publication by this day. This was February 14, to be precise, Valentine's Day 2022. And the headline reads, Nigeria missing as the European Union plans $22.7 billion transport network and other projects across Africa. For reference purpose, you can always check that online, the 14th of February 2022. So this was the headline of the This Day newspaper. So I will just read a little bit of that headline in confirmation with what I released in 2020. The EU is working on a 22.7 billion financing package to support African transport networks as well as energy, digital, education, and health projects to counter China's reach in the continent. The bloc, which is EU, their plan includes strategic corridors, international submarine cables, new energy interconnections, and investments in renewable energy in Senegal, Cote d'Ivoire, Egypt, Morocco, Kenya, according to a draft of the package seen by Bloomberg. But Nigeria, Africa's most populous nation and the biggest economy on the continent, is missing on this list of countries to directly benefit from the move. This Day newspaper observed. Last year, Mr. President Muhammadu Buhari, who was the president as at that time, said that Nigeria's low share of foreign direct investment, FDI, flow to Africa between 2015 and 2019 was a cause for concern. Buhari, who spoke at a retreat organized by the Nigerian Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, NATI, in Uyo, the Akwa Ibom state capital, described the situation as unacceptable. Despite having the biggest economy in Africa, Nigeria only received 4%, which was about $3 billion of $75 billion invested in the continent in the first term of Buhari's administration. According to the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, UNCTAD, 2020 World Bank Investment Report, FDI flows to Nigeria showed a 48.5% decrease compared to the previous year. So I would like to make a confirmation that actually there is a problem. So if there is a problem, there is always a solution. Hence, the advocacy of a special purpose vehicle, which I call NATITI, the Nigerian Agency for International Trade and Information Technology Inclusion. So what would this agency be doing? I will start off by going through the challenge again. I will touch through the facts. What I have here is a draft for the NATITI agency, which the Office of the Presidency can have access to on request. Okay, so let me start. Nigeria has faced a lot of political and economic downturn. From the early 80s, the country has been severely marred by inconsistent government transitions, misappropriation of public funds, as well as economic and financial crimes perpetrated by unscrupulous Nigerians within the country and in diaspora. These despicable acts, being carried out on a daily basis over a long period of time, has not left Nigeria without consequences. Most hurtful of these negative externalities is the infamous tag placed on our country by international bodies and organizations as a result of negligence on our part in redeeming the lofty image of our great country. Fact, it is being reported that 96.05 million Nigerians are using and engaging the internet service as of 2020, which is projected to hit 102.67 million by 2025 next year. 8 out of every 10 internet users can testify of one form of exclusion or alienation or the other during any proposed transactions on the internet. This exclusion by international online platforms, though neglects though neglected, but inflict a loss on our capacity as a nation to trade internationally and also on our capacity to generate more revenue through increasing our tax nets. Thousands of investments, financial and human capacity development opportunities are being benefited by African countries in various sectors such as agriculture, manufacturing, technology, and more. Nigeria is observed to be on the back seats of the beneficiary list due to weaknesses evident in our advocacy, outreach in the international community, in driving foreign direct investments for national growth and development. These and more has necessitated the proposal of a new federal agency that will be saddled with the responsibility of handling these challenges as aforementioned. Now, I want to talk about the objective, the principal goal and objective of this proposed agency. The agency will be saddled with the responsibility of principally providing re-inclusion and remedy to any form of defective misrepresentation, alienation, and omission of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and her citizens as regards international trade, investment, and information technology opportunities which other countries until now are directly or in proxy to benefit. In other words, we are saying that if any country in the world, most especially African countries, if any country in the African continent is having access to any benefit whatsoever, we want in. So this agency would be saddled with that responsibility. So the scope of this agency is what I want to talk about now. The National Agency for International Trade, Investment, and Information Technology Inclusion will be dealing face-to-face with individuals, groups, managements, and governments, ministries, departments, and agencies in over 200 countries, where the Federal Republic of Nigeria have been ostracized, and excluded from possible beneficial opportunities in trade, in investments, and information technology, as it were. Now I want to move over to the operations. The draft, when signed into law, will create the National Agency for International Trade, Investment, and Technology Inclusion, NATITI. The agency will be responsible to the Ministry of Trade and Investment and the Ministry of Science and Technology. The proposed agency will be working in partnership with all ministries, departments, agencies, and the general public in particular. This will enable the proposed agency in aggregating the exclusion nets and proffering solution based on the scope. Now I want to move on to the vision, the mission, and the values and objectives of which I will be ending this proposal. The vision of NATITI is to maximize all international trade, investments, and technology opportunities by advocating inclusion of all Nigerians for optimal financial, economic, and social benefit. At this point, the draft bill, when signed to law, will create the National Agency for International Trade, Investment, and Technology Inclusion, NATITI. The agency will be responsible to the Ministry of Trade and Investment and Ministry of Science and Technology. All this is proposed. The proposed agency will be working in partnership with all ministries, departments, agencies, and the general public. This will enable the proposed agency in aggregating the exclusion net and preference solution based on the scope. The proposed partners of NATITI, sitting from here, is the Nigerian Public Complaints Commission, Nigeria Export Promotion Council, Nigerian Investment Promotion Council, National Information Technology Development Agency. Of course, so many more can be added to these partnerships. The vision of NATITI is to maximize all international trade, investment, and technology opportunities by advocating inclusion of all Nigerians for optimal financial, economic, and social benefits. The mission of NATITI is to provide remedy measures to alienated individuals, businesses, both public and private driven, for the benefits of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The objectives of this proposed agency would be to, one, to advocate awareness and importance of investment, information technology, and international trade inclusion of all Nigerians. Two, to ensure Nigerians are up to date with information technology opportunities. Three, to collate from the general public and partners areas of exclusion being suffered in any sphere or in any industry and in any sector in business. Four, to promote inclusion for public and private enterprises towards information technology. Five, to promote the national economic output of Nigeria via trade inclusion. Six, to provide remedy on prior fallout of Nigeria from profitable international opportunities platforms. Seven, maximizing wealth for all Nigerians through change programs, obviously. Eight, and lastly, to provide a level playing field for Nigeria with other national counterparts. So lastly, I would like to talk about the goals, and we'll be moving on to the second proposal. The goals of Nigeria Agency for International Trade, Investment, and Information Technology Inclusion. One is identifying all current trade, investment, and information technology opportunities until now that were excluded from Nigeria. Two, opening communication lines with agencies, institutes, and managements responsible for exclusion, and also charting the plan for re-inclusion. Three, meeting all requirements of the sponsors in enabling re-inclusion. Four, and lastly, providing awareness to Nigerians through relevant agencies on inclusion action plan and action results. So on that note, I would like to end the NATITI proposal. Second on the proposal list is the creation of an agency which I call the Nigeria Economic Development Agency. Due to the technicality of that proposal, I wouldn't be talking about that. I feel there will be more opportunities to go deep into that. So I'll be fast forwarding to the third proposal, just as I said at the beginning of this presentation. The third proposal is one that I find very interesting. It is related to public debt. And I think we've been able to figure out a way of settling this debt. As of 2023, we were at a position of about 46 billion US dollars in total debts. And I feel this can be settled. And how are we going to do this? The solution is technology. We are going to be leveraging on technology, and this can be done easily. I know you all are smiling, looking at me and saying, what is he saying? Okay. I will start off by getting on with my draft, which I titled The Evolution of National Wealth. Mr. President, luckily for this great country of ours, Nigeria happens to be one of the most geological lottery winners to ever exist planet Earth, with numerous solid and liquid natural resources sitting under 90 million hectares of land today. Without a doubt, we are one of the richest in Africa, if estimated by the value of our natural resources and endowments. For any country to gain self-sufficiency status, in other words, to achieve economic growth and economic development, she must be able to earn enough revenue, known as gross domestic product, to cater for its capital and recurrent expenditure. The excess of that is what we save for rainy days. Nigeria today is at a national public debt level of over 46 billion US dollars, with an unfavorable terms of trade and balance of payments position. I believe that there is a solution to our current economic position, and the solution is using what we have to get what we need. What do we have, you ask, Mr. President? I would reply by saying that what we have always had, which is our natural resources. With our natural resources like gold, emerald, sapphire, rubies, aquamines, tourmaline, topaz, garnets, zircon, amethyst, peridot, oil, and more. With the help of technology, through blockchain, our total debts shall be settled moments from 2030, thereabouts. I will repeat that again. With the help of technology, through blockchain, our total debts shall be settled by 2030 and a little bit above that. We will also have enough left to provide the necessary infrastructure to drive economic development. The key solution for our economy overhaul is technology. And that technology is leveraging blockchain technology through the concept of tokenization. Mr. President, we are at the brink of a new financial world. The past 100 years had us stifled by a few nations who had us at an advantage through colonization and financial oppression, but no more. Mr. President, the internet brought about the free movement of information to everyone regardless of their location in the early 90s. Over 25 years later, the internet is now providing the frictionless movement and exchange of value. By value, I mean both fixed assets and current assets between central banks, commercial banks, non-financial institutions, and individuals regardless of their geographical location in the world. This giant stride being made possible by blockchain technology through the concept of tokenization. Value as we know it today is transitioning to a digital space. All the assets in the world is valued at $1.2 quadrillion. I'm talking cash, debt, stocks, real estate, oil, all precious metals, and more, as well as liabilities. All will be tokenized on a blockchain, which will now become a liquidity pool on which the whole world will transact on going forward. The World Bank, Bank of International Settlements, and the central banks of mostly the G7 countries all signed, giving the order for all central banks to create a central bank digital currency, hence the production of the e-naira. This directive was given in order to end an era of central banks packing over $27 trillion around the world, all for the sake of nostro-vostro accounts for cross-border payments and settlements. All this is about to change with the implementation of the IS 20022 standards, which all central banks have been given the mandate to comply with by end of November 2025. Now, all this I've been saying, how does Nigeria benefit from this new era, which I call the era of the level playing field? I want to talk about tokenization, because tokenization is what is going to bring about the benefits for us as a country. Tokenization is the concept of converting all Nigeria's real-world assets, like oil, gold, stocks, bonds, cash, real estate, natural gas, all precious stones and more will be turned into digital tokens on the blockchain. These tokens represent the ownership rights to all the underlying assets. The natural resources like gold doesn't need to be explored or mined. The value of these resources can be attained even when unmined. The natural resources like gold, like I said, does not need to be explored or mined for valuation or ownership to be ascertained. With the use of recent advanced satellite technology, the volume and the density of these resources can be ascertained from space, while valuation is achieved through the engagement of qualified auditors, and valuers. Tokenization enables the opportunity to refine the way Nigeria's real and natural resources are monetized and converted into financial assets. By tokenizing our resources, we will be making our resources accessible to a wide range of investors globally. Through the digitization of our assets on the blockchain, Nigeria will become a global liquidity provider, hence facilitating the quick and easy payment of our public debts with a snap of our finger. Tokenization fosters the efficient transfer of the property ownership rights, enhances liquidity and clear transparency in the investing process. It will attract global investors, foster economic growth, and even economic development. Mr. President, I can hear you ask, when we digitize our assets on the blockchain, what are we worth? I would kindly like to answer that question with 2 words: a lot. For lack of data, I would like to only talk about gold. For the sake of valuation and for the sake of digitizing, Nigeria's gold deposits were estimated in January 2022 at around 200 million ounces. However, it is of note to say that the value would have changed due to continuous mining activities between 2022 and 2024. At the conservative stand, an ounce of gold is estimated at around 1/8 to over $2,000 per ounce. That gives us an estimation of over $360 billion. Remember that the valuation of our gold deposits cannot only be estimated by the sake of excavating this gold. The gold, even under the ground, can be ascertained in terms of the volume, in terms of the existence, and in terms of the value. So it doesn't have to be mined for us to own the assets, for us to use the assets for whatever business interests that we do have. At a conservative stand, an ounce of gold is estimated at a range of between $1,800 and over $2,000. That gives us an estimation of over $360 billion. Note, this valuation stands even when the gold is not excavated from the ground, so long they remain in our ownership domain. Remember, Mr. President, our total debt as at second quarter 2023 was at $46 billion, according to the National Bureau of Statistics. With the nation's gold reserves alone, our total debt will be resolved. Like I said earlier on, I see this happening around 2030, maybe before, but around 2030 will be an ideal time because we are moving into a different economy, an economy where every country in the world will have a currency, and the potential of that currency will not just be on the capacity of how much you can print, but the capacity of that currency will be founded on the resources that you have backing those currencies. Africa is going to be number 1 again. Nigeria is going to be number 1 again because we have all the resources to back our currencies. Every currency by most countries in the world by then would have a currency that is backed by its commodities. That's why you have the BRICS nation coming together to create a currency backed by the commodities which they possess. A new world is coming, and we must align ourselves with that. Our gold reserve alone puts us at about $360 billion. We haven't talked about oil reserves. We haven't talked about our other resources that we have. Mr. President, we will also have more than enough to provide all the infrastructure we need for progressive growth and development in becoming a first world nation. Mr. President, without further delay, I would request for a discussion with your office for the commencement of a public-private partnership required for a smooth and rapid asset digitization process. I also hereby declare my interest in acting in the capacity of an executive player and contributor to this national economic change process. On a closing note, at this juncture, I would like to congratulate Mr. President Bola TInubu for successfully convening the 5th annual Bola TInubu Youth Summit, where the Nigerian youth are given a platform to voice their innermost aspirations and connect with the government of the day. I thank the entire management and organizers of this event, and I say more power to your elbow. I want to thank the Office of the Presidency and the great citizenry of Nigeria for holding on in these trying times. I can assure you all of a very bright future, especially for the youth of this country. I wish you all a successful 5th Bola TInubu Youth Summit. God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you very much.